Welcome, everybody, to another episode. We have Yaakov Langer here, one of the most famous and prominent Jews in the podcast system across the world, one of the founders of Living Lchaim, inspiration for the nation. He just interviewed the former chief rabbi of Israel, Rabbi Lau, which is incredible. He interviewed Musab, which is the son of Hamas, that we can talk about what's going on with his Instagram account, which is not a great thing, but he's interviewed some of the most prominent Jews in the world and driving inspiration, and his podcast named Inspiration for the Nation, driving inspiration for people who are having a really hard time. And right now, I would say, Jack, you're one of the pioneers for people who are really giving people motivation and really encouraging people to step up, use their voice, use their platform, and create a narrative that the Jewish nation is a light onto the world. That is all we are. We are a light onto the world, and that we want to just spread good and love and care and show everybody that we are not going away, but not only we're not going away, we're only going to be a positive essence for the world. Yaakov Langer, thanks so much for coming on. It's a real honor. Give us a little background, 2-minute background about you.
Sure. First off, that was like one of the nicest intros I've ever gotten, Yair. So thank you so much for that. Living Lchaim. I started doing podcasts back in 2019, and Living Lchaim came to fruition in 2021. And I always thought that like the Jewish world, we're great at a lot of things. When it comes to like studying Torah and serving Hashem and business, like Jews are great at those things. When it comes to, at least in the Orthodox world, when it comes to like media, like that's not necessarily our forte. There's those that are doing it out there, but not to the same scale as like the amount of Nobel Peace Prizes that we're winning is like great, but media, like not really our thing. So I kind of grew up consuming a lot. I'm the youngest of 4 boys, and I watched so much. Don't tell Chaim Berlin, the yeshiva I went to. And, it totally for sure was a waste of time playing video games. But, as I got older, I myself was looking for my purpose, like many people do. And I just kind of got lucky of like filling this space of, I think it was when Snapchat came out with like Snapchat stories, like or WhatsApp status. Like I started getting into that and really, really enjoying it. And I saw is like, I definitely wasn't the best. Like there's so many non-Jewish creators that are way better than me, but the from Orthodox observant world were like hungry for more. I'm like, wait a second, you guys like this? They're like, we don't know anything else. Like, give us more. So it kind of, that's when Living Lchaim came to be of like, how could we go ahead and, like you said, Yair, be a light onto the nations? We have so much incredible wisdom from the Torah and our sages. And like, how could I take that? And we don't necessarily produce Torah content, but we're producing ideas that are based off of what our rabbis had to teach us, and from the source, from Hashem. Hashem created the world. Like we have the light. Let's spread it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Judaism is actually the most written about subject in the world. We're one of the smallest nations in the world, but if you have an actual subject that has been written about the most, Judaism is actually the number one, which is a really cool thing to have. And you're bringing old concepts and concepts that people have been doing, and you're bringing it to modern day times and creating this medium where people understand. So we were on Zev Brenner Talkline Radio for a very long time, and he says to us, the first time he says to us, he's gonna put us on the radio, and he's clients of ours and we're friends, and he says, I'm gonna give you the prime time spot. I said, oh, prime time spot. He goes, Motzei Shabbos after Shabbat, 12 o'clock midnight. That's my primetime spot.
So
and he's
so for Yair, that was like shocking for him because he doesn't know anything about that. But I listened to him. When I saw Zev Brenner, whoa, Zev Brenner, he's a star. I listened to him 1 a.m. since I've slept all of Shabbos. Now I'm up and I need some content. So I'm listening to Zev Brenner and all the different fascinating guests that he brings on.
It's the Hasidic community in Borough Park is really his target audience. He gets about 100,000 listeners a week, which is an episode, which is amazing. And he was saying how he goes, they'll sleep all day on Shabbat, which is crazy because they have like 16 kids, and I got 2 kids. I'm not sleeping on Shabbat. And then at the end of it, they can't sleep anymore, and they're not watching movies and not going out, so they're just listening to the radio. So it's a really amazing thing that has changed. It sounds like you're kind of taking over the Zev Brenner and JM and the AM Nachum Siegel network. Do you find that you are the next, so Howard Stern, I view the podcast world was Howard Stern was the real creator of the podcast, but he did it on his own. And he had his Sirius FM radio, and he did his talk show, and then he brought it, and then Joe Rogan really took it and made that huge platform. And you have Lex Friedman, and you have Living Lchaim, and you have those top rated ones. Do you find that JM in the AM Talkline Radio, do you find that they're switching over to Living Lchaim? Do you feel like you're getting those audiences? And where do you see the Jewish networks going?
So, yeah, that's a good question. First and foremost, I think Nachum Siegel and Zev Brenner are legends.
Absolutely.
And like literally, I think there's still a very big place for them because so many of their listeners are consuming it through radio or whichever ways they're putting it out now. Haraya, the proof is I personally was listening to Zev Brenner this past week, right? He's interviewing that guy who used to became Hasidish, now not Hasidish. Like, he's doing things that like I'm personally not doing. And so same with Nachum Siegel. Like, there's an event coming up. Like, he's the place that you're gonna like. Oh, I want to hear about the Haas concert or whatever it is coming up. He's gonna be the place. I see it more like we're like a different medium. Like the same way how radio was a thing and still is a thing. There's like millions and billions of dollars being spent on radio ads, and there's a reason for that. But the same way that was a thing and still is, there's podcasting. And it's just another way for people in general to consume media. And it's one of these places where you get to hear the shows that you want to listen to, but also the beauty of it, it's like very on demand, right? You could put out a show a year ago, and someone, like, I guarantee you right now, there's like over 100 people listening to a Living Lchaim show that is over a year old, which is very cool. A radio, we are very time bound of like, okay, just like TV. It's like the same way TV was a thing, and now streaming, I think, is becoming like more, just because I think we're also spoiled. Like, we want to listen to or watch what we want to see at that very second. So that's why Living Lchaim, we kind of lean in towards YouTube and podcasts, because that's just kind of the content that I'm personally consuming.
So maybe for someone that's a little bit older than you guys, just, I know Zev Brenner, I know Nachum Siegel. I don't know, what is your target market? Like, who's listening to your podcast? Who are those 100 people that are listening right now to?
It's funny. I literally just looked at the analytics because everything's from Hashem, so I have to say that without like sounding like I'm bragging. But I guess there is some form of bragging. We just reached our 1,000,000th subscriber on YouTube, which is crazy. I never thought I'd get 1,000 people. So like to think 1,000,000 people subscribed is nuts. And we're looking at the analytics. The majority of our people, at least consuming on YouTube, are from the age of 25 through 40. That is like our core. But then like 40 to 60 is like right under there. I think by maybe by 1% less. So I think that's our core demographic, like around like 25 to 40, got to 60. And then there are people younger and the people older also. But yeah, I think more 35-year-olds are consuming our content than 65. But don't get me wrong, my parents spread it. I know they, anytime they come out with an episode, I'm like, Ma, you don't need to send it to anyone. She's like, no, I have to send it to the Florida chat and our Bono Colony chat. So she's definitely getting, people in the 60 demographic. So thanks, Ma, for that.
Can you tell geographically where it is? Like, is it mostly tri-state? Is it California? Can you tell that?
Yeah, so it honestly shifts. Since October 7th, our biggest place of people consuming our content was actually Tel Aviv, because a lot of what we've been doing is very pro-Israel. So I think, it's a place where people are like looking for that chizuk and strength, and they just want to see what's going on, because literally they are in a place where there's constant bombs and they're in need of light. But yeah, we're definitely primarily in places like the tri-state and Lakewood and Jersey, but we have places like Chicago or parts of Israel. London is we have a lot of listeners in London. It's really amazing
how one person's idea can turn into a reach, and really it's creating a movement across. We started the podcast, I didn't even know about Living Lchaim, and then someone's like, oh, you guys know Living Lchaim? I was like, no, I never heard of them. And then next, I'm like, I listen to Rogan, I listen to Lex Friedman, I listen to like all the traditionals.
Yeah, they're the greats. They're the greats.
They're the greats. I am friends with Patrick Bet David with our real occupation, which is financial services. So I'm hesitant to reach out to him because his pro-Israel stance was a little iffy, but I think I'm going to have to wait on that. And we've gotten some amazing. We had the editor-in-chief of Jerusalem Post on yesterday. We had Jen Cohen, a lot of pro-Israel advocates. How are you guys positioned? Because you have a very specific cause that you've been doing, and then all of a sudden you're going from talking about inspirational Jews and different messages and things like that, and now you're going to October 7th. It does make your podcast does make a lot of sense, but you have 5 podcasts that you're running. How are you guys positioning all 5 and Living L'Chaim's entire purpose targeting that? Because it's a tough ask. And we had Hillel Fold on. Sorry for keep name dropping. We had Hillel Fold on. We said, okay, so how'd you position your business because you're so overwhelmed? He says, I fired every single tech client that I have, and this is what I'm doing full time. So how'd you guys position? How are you getting to what are you guys doing now?
Yeah, first off, Hillfold is the man. He's awesome. He's doing so much, and he's great. So yeah, I think we positioned, I think, primarily 2 levers into what's going on since October 7th. One of the levers has been Inspiration for the Nation, the show that I host, where it's kind of easy. You know, the show is basically looking for the most awesome Jews out there, and there's an overwhelming amount of awesome, and not necessarily just Jews, just people that are doing a great job in the world. It's a Jewish show, so we're generally going to get Jews.
Of course.
So we've shifted of like, great, who are the people making the biggest impact since October 7th? So, you know, you mentioned before, Mossab Hassan Youssef, the son of Hamas. He's great. You know, I've had a daughter of a hostage, a mother of Rachel Goldberg, the mother of a hostage. Like, there's so many people, and someone who just, when I was in Israel visiting, someone who got back from Gaza, he was there for 3 weeks straight. That morning, I got him. He came on the show. Like, there's so many people, Shai Graucher, who's giving out everything to everyone who needs something in Israel. Like, he's the man to go to. So there's so many people doing so much. So we've kind of shifted for the time being. Hopefully we'll end soon and go back to our regular talking to, you know, awesome Rabbanim and singers and just, you know, people and doing the great things they are in the world. That's one thing that we've shifted to. And then also like focusing on like our short form content, whether it's our WhatsApp groups or YouTube shorts or a TikTok, of just like promoting, cultivating like all the great clips of IDF, you know, dancing and not giving up, or there's someone donating the shirt on their back to the person whose, you know, family needs their clothing because they don't have a home anymore. But the other shows we've shifted a little. Like, we put out an episode with Charlene Amanoff. She has a show, Not Your Typical Podcast. So we did a show about like, you know, Mashiach has to be near, because like that's something she would talk about in general, and then it's like that's what's on our mind now. Like, look at what's going on. Look at the Achdus. She's focusing on the unity. But in general, let's say kosher money, we're still like kosher money's essence is like being a Jew and finance. So there's there's obviously a little overlap with October 7th, but like we just put out an episode about a rabbi in Lakewood who's talking about how people are just falling into like peer pressure of like, I need to get the fancy car because my car that's working perfectly, I can't drive it in my community. That has nothing to do with the war, but it's a topic that we feel that like, listen, things are still going on, and we're not going to forget about, you know, our brothers and sisters in Israel.
Those are timeless subjects.
Those are timeless subjects that
for every generation.
Yeah, we're still, you know, unfortunately, like we're living in America right now, and we're like, hey, Israel and everyone there on the top of our minds, but still, I need to go ahead and we're still going to work. We're still making Shabbos. We're still living our lives. And even the people in Israel, like they're still focused, and of course, but they're still like, we still need to breathe and sleep and do the things that we typically do. So we're still trying to put out, you know, content that kind of gets people to feel human again. So those are things that we're still doing.
Yeah, you're grounding people, and that's a big part of it. So what we've done a lot is, yes, we talk about pro-Israel, we talk about people's movement, we talk about things like that, and our listeners are primarily, for us, are not Jewish, are primarily our listeners mostly on we're on the LinkedIn channels, so that's really where most of our people know about us, and they're saying, okay, well, it's amazing what you're doing, but also give us some more. So we're bringing in both, which is a little different than most. I would say most podcasts. Most podcasts are talking about Israel a little bit, and they're just trying to go, let's ignore the media. But it's our responsibility as people of this earth who are fighting good versus evil. And if we ignore both which a lot of companies have done. And we actually, it looks like by next week, we're going to have a Fortune 500 company will finally make a statement, which is huge. And if we get that company, then there will be hundreds of others that will be rolling on. We've been working on it really since October 7th. And if you can get people to make statements, it's really, really important. And what our goal is to, number one, inspire, so people understand who the Jewish community is, but what is the next stage for the Jewish community and how we look at things and why we will not exist and why we will exist. Just talking about October 7th is not healthy for anybody.
I would say also, I mean, we do have a lot of non-Jewish clients, and just some of the experiences that I've had over the last week, they don't know where to go for information. They don't know, like I'm on a WhatsApp, I'm getting information as it progresses, bombings and stuff. They don't know where to go. They don't know who to trust. They don't know what to believe. They're seeing all this media and they know that it sounds ridiculous, some of it. And so when they speak to me, it's almost like they have a thirst for some firsthand information. And I think that's another niche that we're supplying.
Yeah, we're going on a big financial services podcast in the next couple of weeks. In 2 weeks, we're going out to Long Island for it. And he says, he's Jewish. He just sold his company for about $500 million. And he says to me, he goes, I never met an IDF veteran. And I'm thinking, you're a Jew. Like, what are you talking about? You never met an IDF veteran. And that's really what he wants to talk about, to give his listeners, and he's in the Motown band, so his listeners also to listen. What are you telling people right now that haven't spoken up? You obviously are now in the media influencer market. What are you telling the people that are saying, hey, I'm losing business, I don't want to speak up, I'm a little scared of it? And it ties to resilient riches, because you build a business, the business has to be resilient through all times. So the podcasters and the people you're talking to that aren't necessarily speaking out, what are you talking to them? How are you giving them that inspiration?
Yeah, I think it gets very scary and tricky. Like you said, people who don't, if they're not Jewish and they're good people and they don't really know much about what's going on, they could easily go on TikTok or the news or wherever they're going and be like, I don't really want to get involved. But like, the more they dig in there, they'll probably come out of it, unfortunately, be like, wow, Israel's the bad guy here. I would just advise everyone of living. We don't really so much know what will be in the end and like what life is about, but we do know that life is beautiful when it's truthful and it's honesty, and that's what real reality is. So I always try to tell everyone, I try to live my life that way of like, and that's the struggle of life, just living with what's true. So first is like research, just get it, just know what's actually going on. Like, think about like what's going on now. Like, if this happened in your home, in wherever you live in New York, like, how would you react to it? Would you want the rest of the world to be like, no, this is too complicated, I'm not going to get involved? Or you'd be like, no, like, do your research, look at the places that you could actually trust, and try to see what's going on. And once you see that, try to live your life to the truest extent. If I believe, and I'm sure you guys agree too, if the ideology of Hamas would spread more, it wouldn't just be bad for Israel, it'd be bad for the entire world, right? If they were more powerful,
I think that's what's scaring the rest of the world.
So and sadly, as it should, it's we're like you said, we're trying to fight evil. We're fighting people that did barbaric, disgusting, terrible things, and we need to put an end to that. So I get it if you're living in your bubble and you don't want to like go out of the bubble. But you know what? It comes to a point in everyone's life where you got to just speak up. And I think of like Nazi Germany, there was terrible like Nazis and Germans that like did terrible things, and terrible Polish people. And there were people that were like just citizens of Germany, and they're like, we just want to live a normal life. And unfortunately, so many of them are like, okay, we'll just go along with the plan. And you have so many Germans that were like, no, this is crazy. I'm going to hide my friend, my Jewish friend, who's like, he's just a Jewish guy. There's nothing, and his family. And we look back at those people in history and are like, those are the heroes, and the Nazis are the monsters. So it's a time, sadly, that will be in history of like, who are going to be the people that were the heroes.
Absolutely. So I had a friend of mine when I was an IDF lone soldier, and that's been a big topic. So when we spoke on Fox and Newsmax and all the different media channels, the legacy media channels, not your media channels. The old schoolers that are
the originals.
The ones that I know, the ones I'm familiar with.
No, you know Zev Brenner at 12 o'clock on Saturday night.
He's a legacy.
He's a legacy.
He's old school. What are you talking about?
They serve their purpose. So I had a friend of mine. It's this guy Robert. He was like a super soldier. It was like me and him were like I was like an American wrestler. I won national championships in the state in the States, and like I was a serious guy. I was really, really tough. And this guy was German, and he's not Jewish. His grandmother, the reason why he's in the army, he's in the IDF, his grandmother was a righteous Gentile, and he was very close to his grandmother. I don't think I ever told you about this guy. His grandmother was a righteous Gentile, hid people in the Holocaust for years, and he was very close to his grandmother, and his grandmother ended up dying. So he goes, as they do, and he always asks his grandmother, "Why'd you do it?" He goes, "Because you need to stand up for people, and you need to stand up for truth, and the Jews are good people, and they're being vilified." So what he did was he joined the IDF and then ended up actually meeting a Jewish girl. Rookie move. He met a Jewish girl. He ends up getting circumcised. He converts and becomes Jewish. So now he's paying more taxes than he's used to. But it was really amazing because there are righteous Gentiles today. It's actually, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and my father's thought. What do you think the people who step up now, when it's so dark and so challenging, what do you think we're going to call them?
I don't know. It's such a good question. I don't know because we're still, it's like when you look back at history, it's always like, oh yeah, that's obvious that was the way it was going to go and how it's going to be positioned. But like once we're in the thick of it, like we're in like the middle of the movie, it's so hard to know like what the critics will say about the movie. But I do look, you're mentioning like, righteous Gentiles, but like I do personally look at people like, I've always thought Elon Musk was a cool guy, like Tesla's such a cool company, and SpaceX, and like honestly what he's doing for the world. But someone like him to be so on the side of Israel and he has, like we have businesses where we're trying to operate and succeed, and so many people have that. He, if not more than anyone, he has the most to lose. He has the most, so therefore 100%. He has the most to lose. And he's saying, I don't care. He's wearing, the people listening can't see, but you're wearing the tag, that's representing the hostages. And for him to say, I'm not taking this off until all the Israeli hostages are returned is heroic. And of course the news is going to be like, he's so bad because he doesn't, I don't know, whatever he does. I don't know. He's definitely a strange person. That's for sure. But he owns, yeah, he owns it, and he stands up for what he believes in. And him buying Twitter, that now X, is, I think it's really a beautiful thing. He's trying to give free speech its ability that it's supposed to have. Like, listen, if free speech, should we have free speech? Should we not have, whatever. The point is, if we should have free speech, we should have free speech. And that's what he's doing. And I think people like him in the history books that we're going to be a part of, I think there'll be two history books, history books from the left and the right. The left is going to look at Elon Musk and be like, he's a terrible guy. And the right's going to be like, he helped humanity so much. If you really care about like going green, no one did more than him. And standing up on the side of the right is something that he's standing for.
Yeah. It's so what would you label them? I mean, you're a marketer as a profession and as hopefully for a very, very successful career over time. And I want to get to how you view success and that stuff. But what would you market it? Because Righteous Gentile was great. We finally got a good, catchy, like I find it like, oh, okay, Black Lives Matter. All of a sudden the Jews go, Jewish Lives Matter. We're like, no, you got to be original. I think we did really good with the posters. The posters were like, we got a good one. Like people
bring them
like
home
the
now.
Posters.
Yeah.
Bring them home, but like the posters, and then next thing you know, we're like killed by Israel posters. We're like, no,
can't they find their own thing?
Yeah, we're the poster.
They have to copy us. We finally come up with an idea and they got to steal.
What would be?
Well, it's not surprising the fact that we're like, Israel's ours. They're like, no, Israel's ours. The same people that do that would just copy our posters.
It's ridiculous. Like it's a Black Lives Matter. Oh, Jewish Lives Matter. Come on, we could do better. We have and also one thing I want to bring up to a point. If the Jews control the media, then we would be winning the media war.
Right,
we're really
exactly.
bad at winning the media war. We're losing really badly, aside for some amazing people. But so what would you call these people? The righteous Gentiles, but what would you call them? I don't
know. It's so funny. The word guy which means, or goyim, which means like nations, it's not a derogatory word. I think it has been used in history as like, sometimes as a negative word, but in truth, for like the way the Torah describes non-Jews or people who are not Jewish, Gentiles, like as goyim, it just means the nations of the world. I don't know. I would love to like just try to rebrand that word, a guy. Like, it's not a bad thing. Like, okay, someone's a Shabbos guy. That means someone who's helping Jews keep Shabbos. Like, I think that's a very beautiful thing. Of course, anything in a negative context, I get to be like, you Jew. Now all of a sudden, Jew sounds like a bad word. Yeah, so I don't know I don't know the answer to your question, but I would love to like rebrand the word guy, because I think it's a beautiful word and it represents the nations of the world. And that's a great thing. And we need the Jews and the people who are not Jewish. We need to work together to make this world a better place. So I don't have an answer for you, but that's
you're getting us You're getting us started. So
yeah,
how did you get through this success that you're having? Because it happened really, really quickly for you. So how did you go along this journey? You had some obstacles. How would you say your success built so quickly? Yes, the bungalow colony in the Catskills from your mom or your grandmother really, really helped. But other than that cheat code, how did you really get that success?
So I think there was just a hole in the market. I like I was saying before that the Orthodox community, where we've been very hungry for our own content. So, I've been listening to How I Built This, which is a great podcast, and I've listened to Joe Rogan, and there's so many great podcasts out there, but I'm always like, we have so much written text, right? And we have so much places to study Torah. Why can't, and there's Torah Anytime, which is, great videos of Valshirim, but like, why can't we as Jews have conversations? Of course, we've had radio, but like nothing in the podcast space. So it started very simple, like, let's just create shows for Jewish people.
You identified a problem. You identified a gap in the market.
Yeah, it's a gap.
It sounds like it was something more like you felt like you wanted to do. You felt this was something missing, that we needed more content. And, in our Orthodox world, there's only a little bit, and it's something that we should be exposed to.
Yes,
and on a kosher way.
So continue. So you identified the market, you identified then what did you do from that point?
So it's, I definitely have a background in understanding, I guess, to an extent of like what's good content from all the TV shows and movies and other podcasts I've listened to. So I think sometimes people have ideas. Ideas are great, but how to execute it is a little more complicated. And I personally just like took okay, what are the best components of every podcast that I like? Okay, great. I like when the host of a show is like more natural than professional. Some shows you have people that are like super professional. I'm like, I personally gravitate towards something that's more natural. Great. That's a component I have. What's topics in like by Jewish Shabbos tables that people are talking about? Okay, great. Who could talk on that? Oh, this rabbi from that community, this, business leader, whatever it is. Great. Let's get guests like that. And because I started with the niche, and it's still the core audience of like Orthodox Jews, something unprecedented that I didn't anticipate is like so many non-Jews, or goyim in the positive way, of like saying like, hey,
goyim.
Let's say, I didn't anticipate of like, okay, talking about money in a spiritual sense. You have so many people talking about how to build your business, and of course it's needed and it's awesome, but like how many people actually talk about money of like, why did God invent money? Like Rav Manis Friedman came on Kosher Money, is talking about like, what's the concept of like behind why money exists? What does that actually represent? Like bring spirituality into money. Like I don't think that it really existed online. So it brought a lot of non-Jews to be like, we want to see this. And now they're going to be watching like, like us talking about the shidduch crisis. I don't think they care or like have that same challenge, but it's like, we're still focused on creating content for the Orthodox, the observant community, but it turned into kind of like a Kiruv mission of so many Jews are like, I've always affiliated with Judaism, but like, I don't really want to go to shul or study Torah. Let me hear a topic about mental health, how Jews see, ADD. Let me see that. And it kind of like opens them up. Or non-Jews are saying like, we've always heard about Jews. We know Jews have Torah and wisdom. Like, could we see more about it? And we're like, yeah, join along. And that kind of propelled
made
the
me
growth.
now want to go and see that Spirituality and Money podcast.
It's great. It's great. And I could say that because
Give it a plug, Yaakov.
Honestly, just go to Living Lchaim, wherever you listen to podcasts or watch on YouTube or go to our website. If you like, and we even have a call-in number. And it's like, for us, it's been a breakthrough of like, we have hardcore Hasidim or people in Lakewood or Mea Shearim that don't have internet access. And we're like, how could we get to them? So we built a phone line. We have a number in Israel, America, and England. And they don't have the internet. They literally don't have the internet, but they call in. We get over 1,000 calls a day, which is bonkers to me. But it's like,
no, they love it.
I'm going to give a little plug here because I listen to the MDY. It's the Daf Yomi by
sure.
Reps, and he's like revolutionized it. He's got an artist now. He's doing like 3D stuff. And that's the part I remember. Like he has one just very briefly, and I always get bored with this. Where do you sprinkle on the Mizbeach? And he had like a picture of the airplane from Southwest. So now I remember Southwest. That's where you sprinkle. I would never remember otherwise. And this is something nobody else has done. Nobody else.
Eli Stefanski is like the Steve Jobs. What Steve Jobs did to Apple, Eli Stefanski, I think, is doing to Daf Yomi.
It's amazing.
I wouldn't even say, and I say this as a compliment, I don't know, again, I actually did like a breakdown on my YouTube channel, like the best, but like personally, I don't even know if I would say he's the best Maggid Shir, and he does an amazing job. But what he does in order to get you to walk away and understand actually what's going on. He's not scared to bring in tools like 3D animation or like do all these cool live events. And I think he's going to
risk.
He's going to go down in history. He's going to go down in history.
I've shared it with Yair a couple of times, and sometimes he'll say, I'm going to say this joke. I know I'm going to get a lot of emails back about it, but I'm going to say it anyway.
I think he's hilarious. I like his 8minutedaf.com. So Daf Yomi is, you learn a page of the Talmud every day. If you don't know what the Talmud is, call the the president of Argentina. He'll let you know. And and I thought people like that one. Yeah, it's rock solid. But if it's learning a page of Talmud every single day, and that's something that they do together. And at the end of the entire chapters, the entire Jewish world rents out like some huge stadium, and they do this huge party. And it's really, really incredible. It's one of the most. It's really one of the most amazing Jewish unity events in the world. So just to keep this in business, it's you identify the target, you realize, okay, how do I get to these people? And you were very specific on how you do it. I love the call, and that's genius. And you were very specific on how you did that, and you created it. Now, did you have a lot of capital behind you when you first started the business? What obstacles did you go through?
And how is revenue generated? Is it just through advertising?
Yeah, great question. So I'll answer both the questions. First off, no, there wasn't, I think to build a podcast, the entry is very easy. And I've stopped taking these calls at this point, but like I've used to get like, and I still get the calls, but I just don't answer them. Like 3 calls a week of like, how do I start a podcast? How do I like market a podcast? And like, it's so easy to start a podcast. Like you guys know, like you get a mic, you upload it, and like you pay a few dollars a month, and it's great. So the entry to it was very easy. I bootstrapped it. I would send it. I sent out a message to any of my friends and family. I would broadcast it on my status, and I would also try to get guests that people want to hear from. Like I literally feel like, and I genuinely mean it, I have nothing to say. Like I really don't. Like I can tell you about my experiences, but I don't. I mean, you guys want to bring me on, that's fine. But I don't really have so much. No, but I literally. But let's bring on people that like people are fascinated by. People want to hear. Said before with Manis Friedman. Let's bring him on. So that being said, that's how we started, and it's been organic. It's real organic growth. Like we've advertised places here and there. But the core of how it's gotten spread was by the content. People enjoy the content, so they shared it with their mothers, brothers, sisters, fathers, cousins, whoever, and that's how we've spread it. And then in regards to the second question, there's 3 rungs on how Living Lchaim makes money. It's funny. We started as an LLC, as a business of like, we're a media company, but I just found so many friends and family of like, hey, could I, like, I didn't even ask them because I feel uncomfortable asking people for money. They're like, can I donate money? Ilu Nishmas, my, wife who passed away, or my father. And I'm like, well, we're an LLC. Do you want to invest in us? They're like, no, I want to just donate money. And I'm like, you know what? Everything we're doing, we're providing free content for people. whether it's podcasts or videos, it's not like a subscription like Netflix or HBO Max. And we made the shift from an LLC. We actually disincorporated it, or whatever the legal terms are, and we made a nonprofit. We're an official 501c3. So that's one rung. People donate money, which I probably should get more on top of, because it's uncomfortable for me, but we have that. A second rung is YouTube. Thank God, with the amount of views that we're getting, YouTube pays us significantly for, the ads that come up on the videos, which people sometimes complain about. And I'm like, guys, whether we make, like, the way YouTube works is YouTube makes money when they play ads. So you have the option either to say, I also want to make money, or you could say, I don't want to make money, and then YouTube keeps 100% of it. So I'm like, I want us also to benefit, at least, so we could keep on doing what we're doing. And then lastly, we have sponsorships. People say, hey, we have this, I don't know what it is, clothing company. Let's say Twillery. I'm wearing a Twillery jacket. That's a free plug for Twillery. They're awesome. And they say, we have a clothing line and we would love to have your audience know about it. So they advertise on it. And we have
Absolutely.
like nonprofits and organizations and just companies advertise on, or I should say sponsor our shows.
I love what you're saying, because I view you, and we view a lot of business owners and what we typically see is people who have sold their companies and now they're famous. You're still in the grinding zone of this, which I love. And I love that you bootstrapped. You don't need to just throw a ton of money at something and hope it's going to work. That's not really how businesses become successful. I have a few more questions for you, and what would you say your moment was, your defining moment, when you decided to take a plunge and do something that's completely different, and there was a moment in your life that allowed you to take those risks and be comfortable with change? What was that defining moment for yourself?
I want to give an answer, but I don't know if there was a moment. I don't think there was. It's been very gradual, because you know what? Honestly, when I first
not even just business, personal side, so people can get to know you on a personal side.
Okay.
The moment that you realized this was what you wanted to do,
or you wanted to do something different.
I got it.
A lot of TV.
He's got it. He's ready.
I got it for you. So I went to Rabbi Sanders Yeshiva in Israel for 4 years. Uh-huh. The first year of being in yeshiva there was very explorative for me. I've never been. I was kind of taken care of my whole life. So I was in a place where I really had to grapple with do I want to go to town and talk to girls? No, I'm a good kid. I don't want to, I'm here to learn. I'm not here to fool around. And it got me honestly to a dark place of why am I doing anything? I kind of grew up my whole life. I go daven, I learn, I honor my parents. I probably could get better at that, but I'm doing all the classic mitzvahs and things we need to do. And then by my second year, I got honestly into a very dark place. I don't know if it would be classified as actual depression, but at least in my world, I was literally, it's so unmotivated to do anything. And I'm why am I doing this? I don't know if I believe in it. And that summer, I went to Camp Simcha, which I have been going to Camp Simcha for a few years at that point. But I got a kid in Camp Simcha. His name,
which is a free camp for people who have illnesses and
chronic illness and cancer. Sadly,
free plug for Camp Simcha.
Yeah,
Simcha
Camp
means
Simcha.
happiness.
Simcha means happiness. It holds a very special place in my heart. And that place is, you would think, the most depressing place on earth. It's actually the happiest place. You have kids who are in a hospital the whole year, and you take them out of the hospital. Obviously, there's tons of doctors there. Everything's very efficient. And you're giving them the party of their life. And sadly, there's many kids there that don't make it. Maybe not that year, but a lot of kids do make it, and they go on to live healthy, beautiful lives.
Yeah, my friend was just passed away. Rafi Strauss just passed away.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, of course. Rafi is a legend there.
Rafi was my friend since I was 6 years old.
Legend. And he went through such a hard life. And a guy like him, he always had a smile on him, and he wore his mask all the time.
Allergic to the sun. They did a video for him. Yeah. And he actually got married.
Well, you went to high school with his brother.
Yeah, I always gave him money.
He was amazing. So I got a kid. He was 9 years old at the time. His name was Eric Sprintz. He was in the height of chemo, bold kid, the most fun kid in the world. And in that moment, I'm like, okay, my mission is to give this kid a fun time. I'm like, I know how to do that. And it was actually the summer where Camp Simcha got cut short, there was like a virus going around. This is in 2012, I think, and camp was only like it's supposed to be. It's 2 week sessions per session. It was supposed to be for 2 weeks, and it got cut to like 8 days. Those 8 days for me was like I was on a high. I never in my life felt so like I had a purpose, I had a mission. And I kid you not, like I've never felt higher than in those moments of like so tapped into like this is my mission in this world. And I think that feeling of having a mission totally changed my life. Literally changed my life. I would be, I was never like I'm usually an optimistic type of person, but like I was in a funk for those like 2 years. And since then, for me, it's been a very defining moment of like, that's the key to life. You just got to find your mission. You got to find your purpose. Sometimes people go through their whole life trying to find that. But once you find that and you say like, this is my mission, then you're good. So your mission can also shift. So right now, I truly feel my mission is to run Living Lchaim, to produce content that helps the observant Orthodox world and the world at large, anyone tuning in to get joy. Life has so many obstacles in it. And we, as Jewish people, we have so many laws and rules, and you can look at it like this is so limiting to us, or you could be like, no, like God created the world with the Torah. That is the blueprint of the world, and we could work together with God with this blueprint and create the best world possible. So, like, absolutely. Yeah, I do. It's like kind of like I do believe there's going to be a time where Muslims and Jews live in peace and work together, and Christian, and like we're all working together. Like that time will come. Hopefully, it's going to be soon. Mashiach's going to come. But until then, we're just going to try spending as much light as we can.
Absolutely. I remember a time where my dad and I were talking, and what I did was, because we went through such financial struggles and we reinvented ourselves, and that was something that really gives us a lot of energy and power to continue doing what we're doing and our resilience. So we said, okay, I have to do, so we would bring in people who were going through COVID, that was going through like stress, financial troubles, divorce, things like that. And we would do all the work, get them out of it for free. And that's something we did. Then we realized, okay, now we have to do this, but scale it. So we started doing seminars, and we started doing classes for people, just free, just us. And we had our assistants helping as well, and just on our dollar. And then we're like, we need to scale this even more. So we decided we want to make a bigger impact. And we felt that's really our calling is if when your financials are in trouble, your stress will go up, your desire to be around people will go down, and you'll make less money. But if we can give people the blueprint of education and give people that financial freedom, and that's just one part of life, and allow them to be the best person they want to be or they can be, that gives people freedom. And that almost broke our family, but that's actually built our family. We're closer than we've ever been.
And we address a lot of what you mentioned also with your kosher money. Like, I have to buy a bigger car, even though mine's and I can't really afford it. I mean, so that's what we're talking them through.
And we're doing it on an individual level. I mean, the questions I got someone texting me, hey, the S&P is giving 10%. Why didn't you tell me to get that? And I was like, what are you talking about? like these types of questions, but you realize people just have no education.
They just don't know. Right.
We'd love to give money to charity. That's something that we do on the podcast. We find something that you're passionate about. Camp Simcha sounds like it. Living Lchaim. You got a lot of people giving to Living Lchaim. Is there a charity that we can give to, that we can give a free plug to?
Well, I totally love Chai Lifeline. They're amazing, but I am totally, if you would want to give towards Living Lchaim, I would be so happy.
Whatever
for that.
You want. It's your money.
Yeah. I mean, it's your money, but Living Lchaim, it's definitely my weakest link. Like, I feel so uncomfortable asking. I mean, once you're saying I'm happy to give, I'm like, yeah, Living Lchaim. We're at the point where we can't, like, I have a full-time job. Like, I don't even do Living Lchaim full-time, but we're at the point where soon, myself and like, we need to hire more people to help us. Like, thank God, we're at the point we have on YouTube alone 515 million views. That's over half a billion views. And I'm confident we could get to another billion in another, few months. And we could only do that by we have 5 shows now. We're coming out with 5 more shows. And the more money that we have in order to fund what we're trying to do, our mission, it would be the best, because then we're happy to spread more light.
We're happy to do it. And we're happy to contribute to what you're doing. We love your cause. Financial empowerment is key. I mean, it's incredible what you're doing. You're really changing the world, and you're bringing light onto the nations, and that's really what we want to do, and we want to empower you. So Jack, Yaakov, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. So Jack, tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, you can really find us wherever you consume your podcast. So you go to our website, livinglchaim.com. That's spelled LCHAIM. And you will see links there. You can go on our YouTube channel and type in Living Lchaim. You Apple, Spotify. We even have a phone line where you could see on our website. We have numbers where you could call in if you're not a fan of the internet. So really everywhere and anywhere.
Great. And then thank you so much for coming on. We love what you're doing. Really appreciate what you're doing. I mean, you're really doing our mission, what our goal was, and it's amazing to have soldiers on your side, on your left and right. And as we're going through this journey, we're seeing that there's more people that are really trying to help people and really trying to educate people. So we really appreciate what you're doing. We love you. We care about you. We really appreciate the mission. We're happy to donate directly to Living Lchaim. I'm hoping soon that you won't need another dollar of donation, that YouTube just pays you in alone, and that you have so much success, and that we can bring an end to this war and have that mission that you have, is that Jews, Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, and everybody's living together and living in peace. And that's really the goal of what you're doing. And that's really the goal of everybody. So thank you, Jack, so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Yaakov, thank you so much for coming on. And
David,
we'll
Yair, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
See everybody soon. Thanks, everyone.
See you. Okay, bye.